welcome to Roundabout's #Share a Story. My name's Colin Campbell and I'm an actor and a drama therapist who works for Roundabout. Today I'd like to share the story of the Bremen town musicians with you. So here we go. Once upon a time there was a miller, and this miller had a donkey that helped him do the work. Now the miller noticed that the donkey was getting very old and couldn't do the work that it used to. So the miller decided that he was going to get rid of the donkey. He was going to send it to the abattoir. Well, the donkey was pretty smart, and he didn't want to go to an abattoir, so he decided that he was going to make his escape. And the next morning, he got up really early, hours before the miller was even thinking about getting up, and he made his escape. But then he thought, well, if I'm not going to work for a miller anymore, what am I going to do? And then he had an idea. I know, I'm going to go to the town of Bremen, and there I will make my living as a musician. And with this happy thought, the donkey marched down the road. Now, after a couple of hours on the road, he came to a crossroads, and who should he meet there but an old dog? "Hello there, Mr. Dog, how are you doing?" "Not too good," said the dog. "You know what? I'm not as young as I used to be. My eyesight's not what it was. I did belong to a hunter, but I was no good to him anymore. Couldn't catch rabbits, couldn't see the birds, where to pick them up after he'd shot them. I don't know what to do, really." And the donkey said, "Well, why don't you join me? I'm going to go to the town of Bremen, and there I'm going to earn my living as a musician. We could form a duo." A duo? What a great idea. The dog thought this was fantastic, and the donkey and the dog carried on down the road towards Bremen. After another couple of hours on the road, they came to another crossroads. Who should they meet there but an old cat? "Hello there, Mr. Whiskers," they said. "How you doing?" "Not too good," said the cat. "You know, you might not believe this, but I'm not as young as I look. And, you know, well, my owners kicked me out. You know, when I was young, I used to catch all manner of mice and rats and vermin, but now all I want to do is curl up by the fire and go to sleep. Anyway, my owner, she refused to feed me, so I ran out in a huff. I don't know what I'm going to do, though, now." And the donkey looked at the dog. The dog nodded. "Why don't you join us? We're going to the town of Bremen, where we're going to form the Bremen Town Band. You could join us." The cat thought this was a fantastic idea. So the three of them, the donkey, the dog, and the cat, marched down the road towards Bremen. After another couple of hours on the road, they came to a farmyard. They had to cross through a farmyard, and there, on the top of the barn roof, there was a cockerel, crowing for all his might. Well, the donkey looked at the cockerel and he said, "Well, you're a bit late, aren't you? Aren't you supposed to be doing this first thing in the morning?" And the cockerel said, "Well, I've just found out that tomorrow my owner's going to chop my head off and put me in a pie. So I'm crowing for all my might." And the donkey said, "Well, you don't want to let that happen. Join us. We're going to go to the town of Bremen, and we're going to be the Bremen Town Band. Join us?" The cockerel was overwhelmed with happiness with this idea, and he joined the donkey, the dog, and the cat, and the four Bremen Town musicians marched down the road. Now, it wasn't long before the road took them through a deep, dark forest, and it was starting to get dark, and the animals realized they were getting quite tired and quite hungry. So they sent the cockerel up a tree so he could see what he could see. So the cockerel went up the tree and he looked north, he looked south, he looked east, and he looked west. He came down the tree and he said, "There's some smoke coming from over there. Maybe there's some houses. Maybe we could get a bed for the night, maybe something to eat." So they went in the direction that the cockerel told them, and eventually they could see a light glinting between the tree trunks. They made the way towards the light, and then they found themselves outside a log cabin. Smoke was billowing out of the chimney, and the smell of food, cooking food, was coming out of the log cabin. This drove the animals wild with hunger. How can we get something to eat? How can we get a bed for the night? The donkey had an idea. I know. Why don't we make our music, and then surely the people inside will reward us. Maybe give us something to eat, maybe even a bed for the night. The animals thought this was a great idea, so they made their way to the window where they stood, and the donkey stood with his front hooves on the windowsill. And then the dog jumped on top of the donkey, and then the cat went on top of the dog, and then the cockerel perched on the cat's head. And then they began to make their music. The donkey began to bray and hee-haw, and the dog began to howl and bark, and the cat began to caterwaul and meow, and the cockerel went cock-a-doodle-doo. Now, as the animals got more and more into their music, they started to sway forwards and backwards, until they overbalanced and they crashed through the window. Now, unbeknownst to them, inside the log cabin was a band of thieves who had been thieving all day and were counting their money and cooking a big pot of stew. Now, the thieves, hearing the strange noise and then the crash through the window, immediately thought that they were being attacked, and they ran out of the log cabin as fast as they could. Fled to all different parts of the forest. Now, when the animals came to and looked around, the log cabin was completely empty. So they waited, and they waited, and then they thought, well, there's a big pot of stew there. It's a shame to waste it, isn't it? You know, so they found some bowls and they ladled out bowls of stew, and then they ladled out seconds, and they ate all the stew, and it was the most delicious stew they'd ever tasted. Now, after they'd eaten, they were feeling very cosy and tired, and they decided that, well, let's just stay here for the night. So the donkey went out onto the dung heap, and he stood there and slept there for the evening. The cat curled up by the fire. The dog, well, he slept by the door to keep guard, and the cockerel went up onto the roof and perched there for the night. Now then, in the middle of the night, the thieves, wondering what had happened to the money that they'd been stealing all day, and their stew and their log cabin, well, they sent one of their number back to find out what had happened. It was very dark, and the thief crept in through the garden gate. He turned the handle on the front door, and he opened the door. It was pitch black inside. He couldn't see a thing. Then he just made out the glow of coals in the corner of the room where the fire was. And he thought, I know. He took out a match. I'll put this in the fire. I'll be able to get some light on the matter and see what's gone on. He took the match out and he put it towards the glowing coals. But the thief had made a mistake. It wasn't glowing coals. It was the glow of the cat's eyes. And the cat spat and hissed at him and scratched him down both sides of his face. The thief got such a shock, he made his way out towards the door, where he disturbed the dog, and the dog immediately bit him right in the leg. He managed to shake the dog off, and then he ran out over the dung heap, where the donkey, he woke up too, and with his strong hind back legs, he kicked the thief right in the bum. Howling with pain, oh! The thief jumped over the garden gate, and then the cockerel went cock-a-doodle-doo. Now, the thief got back to the rest of the other thieves, and they said, well, what's happened? What's happened to all our money? What's happened to our log cabin? What's happened to our stew? And he said, we can never go back there. It was terrible, awful. It was pitch black when I went inside. I went to get a light from the fire, when all of a sudden, a witch jumped up, and with her terrible nails, she scratched me down both sides of my face. There was a man by the door with a big knife, and he stabbed me. Ah! ah, right in the leg. I ran out through the garden and over the dung heap, and there was a 10-foot ogre who had a big wooden club, and he hit me right in the bum. And then I made my escape over the garden gate. There was a judge on high, and the judge said, "Bring that thief to me." And the thieves were shocked and terrified after what he'd told them. And they thought, well, we can never go back there. So they went off, thieving in other parts of the land. But the Bremen town musicians, the donkey, the dog, the cat, and the cockerel, well, you know what? They liked it there so much that they never left. That's the story of the Bremen town musicians. I hope you enjoyed it. Hashtag share a story from Roundabout Dramatherapy is something that we do every year. Storytelling and story making are at the heart of how Roundabout ensures that everyone's issues and voices can be heard. If you would like to make a donation to support the work of the charity, they will be very grateful for your support. A small gift will make a big difference to the children and the adults they support. Thank you.